Listen to this now. You are being hunted right now, not by common predators, but by women who master the dark art of emotional manipulation. They study you like an open book, while you don't even realize you're being read. Think of yourself as a vault full of valuable resources, and they have the psychological tools to pick every lock in your mind without you even feeling it. Pay attention to what I'm about to tell you now. Have you ever felt that strange sensation after a date? That emptiness in your chest, as if your life force had been sucked out? It's no coincidence. You were drained by an emotional vampire disguised as an enchanted princess. And the worst part? You're probably still thinking it's your fault. How many times have you caught yourself apologizing without knowing exactly what for? Brother, wake up. While you're there tormenting yourself, questioning your own sanity, they're out there applying the same tricks to the next target. You lose money, time, peace of mind. You even lose sight of who you really are. You become a shadow of the man you used to be. And you know what's crueler? You still thank them for crumbs of attention. Can you feel the weight of that? Today I'm going to give you something ultra rare. Knowledge that few men have the courage to share because it challenges everything society has programmed you to believe. Studies show that 73% of men have been victims of severe emotional manipulation in relationships, but almost no one recognizes the signs until it's too late. I spent over a decade decoding these patterns. I saw strong men turn into puppets. I saw careers destroyed, fortunes evaporated, brilliant minds reduced to empty shells. And I discovered that all these dangerous women use the exact same 5 deadly tricks. Are you ready to learn each one of them? First trick, the eternal victim who never loses a war. This is the woman who turns every situation into a dramatic soap opera where she is always the suffering hero. You arrive 5 minutes late. She accuses you of not valuing her time. You question strange behavior. Suddenly, you become the emotional aggressor who is destroying her self-esteem. Do you see how this dirty game works? She inverts reality like a professional magician. When you finally explode after months of provocation, she records your reaction, shows it to her friends, and says you're abusive. You become isolated, unsupported, questioning if you really are the monster she paints you to be. Meanwhile, she collects sympathy and attention from everyone around her. The male brain wasn't programmed for this kind of psychological warfare. Biologically, you were made to solve direct problems, not to navigate emotional labyrinths full of invisible traps. She knows this. She uses it against you every day. Always remember that. Have you ever noticed how after every argument you walk away feeling like the villain of the story? It's no accident, it's pure strategy. She plants seeds of guilt in your mind and waters them with fake tears until you believe you deserve punishment. Does that make sense now? Second trick, the silent gaslighting that destroys your perception. This is the most dangerous because it directly attacks your mental sanity. She denies conversations you've had. She changes versions of events you witnessed. She makes you doubt your own memory until you question if you're going crazy. You clearly remember her saying she had no problem with your friends. 2 weeks later, she swears she always made it clear they were a bad influence. You're sure she agreed to that trip. Now she says you made it up in your head. Do you feel how that messes with your mind? Gradually, you stop trusting yourself. You start to depend on her to validate your perceptions. You become a satellite orbiting around her, lost without her approval. This is how confident men turn into insecure shadows in a matter of months. The internal radar that protected you your entire life becomes completely unregulated. You can no longer distinguish reality from manipulation. It's like living in a constant mental fog where nothing makes sense except what she says is true. Pay attention to this. Studies show that victims of gaslighting develop symptoms similar to post-traumatic stress, anxiety, depression, panic attacks. You think you're going crazy when in reality you're being systematically destroyed from within. Can you see the real danger? Third trick, the seduction by convenience that turns you into a slave. Sex becomes a bargaining chip. Affection becomes a reward for good behavior. She turns affection on and off like a switch, controlling you through your most primitive instincts. When you do what she wants, paradise opens up. She becomes the woman of your dreams, attentive, seductive, irresistible. But dare to go against her wishes and the emotional desert begins. Coldness, distance, calculated rejection. Do you notice the conditioning happening? Your reptilian brain cannot resist this type of manipulation. It's like training a dog with treats. You quickly learn that obeying brings pleasure and resisting brings pain. In a short time, you're juggling to earn crumbs of affection. Men who would never give money to strangers are suddenly paying bills, financing trips, buying expensive gifts, all for a night of attention that should be natural in a healthy relationship. Does it hurt to admit that? She knows exactly when to give you a dopamine hit to keep you addicted. She calculates every touch, every smile, every moment of intimacy. You become an addict begging for the next dose, willing to do anything to get that feeling again. The dance of bodies turns into a dance of power, where you always lose. She leads, you follow. She decides when, how, and if it will happen. You just wait, hope, and obey in the hope of being rewarded. Does it make sense now how you lost control? Fourth trick, emotional blackmail. Disguised as love. This is subtle, like poison in food. She knows your deepest fears, your most secret insecurities, and uses all of it as a weapon when she needs to get something. Are you afraid of being alone? She threatens to break up with you with every argument. Are you concerned about being a good man? She compares you to the ex who was so romantic and attentive. Do you value your reputation? She suggests she might tell things about you that no one needs to know. Do you feel the pressure building? Every conversation turns into an emotional minefield. You never know when you'll step in the wrong place and detonate an explosion of drama. So you walk on eggshells, measuring every word, calculating every action so as not to provoke her wrath. Always remember this. She knows you better than you know yourself, because she spent months studying your reactions. She knows exactly which button to push to get the response she wants. It's surgical manipulation, precise and deadly. You stop expressing your opinions. You stop defending your boundaries. You accept absurd situations just to keep the peace. But there is no real peace, only the interval between the storms she creates when she needs something. Can you see how this traps you? Fifth trick, the toxic loyalty test that never ends. She creates artificial situations to test your commitment. Drama with friends that requires you to take sides. Invented jealousy to see your reaction. Fabricated crises where you need to prove she's a priority. Every test you pass only paves the way for a bigger test. It's an endless escalation of proofs of love that will never be enough. You cancel important commitments to attend to her fake emergencies. You abandon hobbies to spend more time proving devotion. Do you notice the vicious cycle? Friends start to distance themselves because you always cancel last minute. Family complains that you've changed, that you're not the same anymore, but you're too busy trying to pass the next test to realize you're losing everything around you. The cruelest part is that she is never satisfied. You can move mountains, cross oceans, sacrifice your soul. There will always be one more test, one more proof, one more necessary demonstration. Come on, wake up to this. These tests are designed to isolate you. The more alone you become, the more dependent on her you become. It's a military strategy applied to relationships, cutting off your emotional supply lines until you have nowhere to run. Does it make sense how you got where you are? Now I need to tell you something that almost no one applies, but that can save your life. The MAN shield that protects you against all this manipulation. M for mapping the signs before it's too late. A for assessing the real impact on your life. N for neutralizing the action with practical strategies. Mapping means developing sharp awareness. You need to recognize the patterns the moment they appear, not months later when the damage is done. That passive-aggressive comment on the first date. Red flag. The story of how all her exes were terrible. Giant red flag. Pay close attention to this. Assessing is calculating the real cost of these mind games. How much money have you already lost? How many opportunities have you wasted? How many years of your life have you lost to unnecessary stress? Put it on paper, do the math. The shock of reality is necessary. Neutralizing is where the magic happens. You set iron boundaries and do not negotiate. She tries the victim trick. You walk away from the conversation. She starts with gaslighting. You record the conversations. She uses sex as a weapon. You find satisfaction in other areas of life. Can you feel the power returning? But I know what you're thinking now. Isn't this generalizing too much? Isn't this unfair to women? Listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. This isn't about hating women. It's about loving yourself enough not to accept abuse from anyone. Incredible women exist by the thousands. loyal, loving partners who build instead of destroy. But you will never find one of them while you are trapped in the emotional hell of a manipulator. Always remember that. The knowledge I shared today is pure power. Few men have access to this clarity because society prefers you to remain vulnerable and exploited. It's easier to sell you the idea that you need to endure everything in the name of love. But real love doesn't hurt like that. Real love doesn't leave you empty, confused, broken. Real love builds, strengthens, elevates. If you are feeling destroyed, it's not love. It's manipulation dressed as romance. Do you deserve to understand the difference? Think of that romantic dinner I mentioned earlier. The candlelight, the sweet smile hiding ulterior motives. Now your radar is on. You detect the poison before you swallow it. You see through the mask before falling in love with the illusion. You are no longer easy prey. You are a predator conscious of your own worth. You set the terms, choose your battles, decide who deserves access to your energy. This is the man you can become with the right tools. Pay attention to what comes next. The time you lose being manipulated never comes back. Every day spent feeding emotional vampires is a day stolen from your future. You can continue in the same cycle, hoping that things will magically get better. Or you can take action now. I guarantee you one thing. After you learn to identify these tricks, they completely lose their power. It's like watching a magician after knowing the secrets. The illusion dissolves. Only the pathetic attempt to deceive remains. Can you imagine that freedom? You will walk through the world with renewed confidence. You will attract quality women because they recognize a man who cannot be manipulated. You will build relationships based on mutual respect, not on sick psychological games. But this only happens if you act now. If you apply what you've learned, if you commit to never again being a victim of these dirty tricks. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. With action, it's transformation. Does that make sense to you? Remember the vault I mentioned at the beginning. Your valuable resources, your energy, your time, your money, your peace of mind. You just changed all the locks. The old keys they had no longer work. You are protected, shielded, safe. This is the power of true discernment. It's not paranoia, it's applied emotional intelligence. It's not misogyny, it's necessary self-protection. It's not weakness to recognize that you were manipulated. Weakness is continuing to accept it after knowing. Wake up, man. The game has changed. Now you know the rules they hid from you. You can identify every move before it happens. You can predict the attack and defend yourself with mastery. You are no longer the same man who started watching this video. If this made sense to you, if it opened your eyes to truths you felt but couldn't explain, then you need to act now. Like this video immediately, before you forget. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next level of this journey. Because this is just the beginning. The tricks I revealed today are just the surface of a deep ocean of knowledge that can completely transform your love life and personal life, but only for those who have the courage to face the truth. Pay attention one last time. You are no longer prey in their game. You are the hunter who knows all the traps. The emotion detective who deciphers every attempt at manipulation. The man who sets his own terms and does not negotiate his dignity for crumbs of affection. Always remember the vault. You changed the locks. You have the only keys. You decide who enters and on what terms. This is your power now. Use it wisely, but most importantly, use it. The world is full of incredible women waiting for men who don't fall for childish games. Men who recognize real value and genuine reciprocity. Men like you can become starting today. Do it now before you forget. The like, the subscription, the commitment to your own protection, because tomorrow might be too late. Tomorrow you might be back in the cycle, trapped in another web of manipulation. But today, now at this moment, you have the power to change everything. To break the invisible chains, to reclaim your stolen masculinity, to return to being the strong, centered man you were born to be. Can you feel that strength returning? It's yours, it always was. They just made you forget temporarily, but now you remember. Now you know. Now you are armed with knowledge few men possess. Use that power. Protect yourself. Prosper. And never, ever again let anyone access the locks of your inner vault without deeply earning that trust. You are the guardian of your own emotional fortress. Act like it.